So welcome everyone on this dark evening. It's definitely starting to cross over the threshold, isn't it, into the darker months. So my name's Hazel Osborne, and this is Sacred Elderwoman. If you were wondering if you're in the right place, and we're going to be talking about a witch's approach to engaging in your menopause transition, wherever you're at, as a form of initiation and reclaiming our power. So we've got just under an hour and 15 minutes together. My hope is that this will be super nourishing for you and that you will go away with more ideas, more resource in your nervous system. And I'm also going to be talking about a course that I'm running actually from next Monday, which is a 6-session process where we'll deepen into all of these themes. And I'm going to be talking more about that at the end. So I guess just to give you a bit of background on me, I'm a psychotherapeutic counsellor, a transpersonal kind of psychotherapy, which is a soulful approach. And I work in the NHS in Wales in mental health, but I also work in private practice. And the reason that I felt to bring this course together was not only through my own menopause process, which was quite shocking, and I'm still in process, but I feel I've turned a corner. But also because I was encountering a lot of women or people with wombs who were born female that were being misdiagnosed and sent to mental health, or given antidepressant medication, when actually we realized within a few weeks in our process together they were actually in menopause. So it feels like there's still so much misinformation. And personally, I've never got on with hormone medication, and I absolutely don't judge anybody that chooses that pathway. But for me, it wasn't an option because it's just never felt good in my body. It just really doesn't. So I went a different way and wanted to really encounter this transition as something sacred. And that's why I'm offering this work, because I feel it's really important that we can reclaim some of these lost practices, which I believe our ancestors would have worked with, although the symptoms may have been different back then because they had different eating habits and all the rest of it. And, life was different. There was more support, more community perhaps. And we don't know what their menopause symptoms might have looked like, and I do think there's a different way of doing menopause, and that's why I want to offer this process. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and thank you for sharing this time with me. I will leave some time at the end as well, and there will be opportunities to share in the chat. And also, if you want to, there might be moments you might like to speak something. And that is totally optional. But I do believe that when we sit in circle, even when it's online like this and we're in our little boxes, that there's a shared wisdom that we're weaving together, that we're almost creating a magical potion in our weavings together of our own experiences. And you might say something that somebody else really needs to hear. So it's totally optional, but if you feel like sharing, there will be the odd moment for that. And I guess I want to name that over the last few years, I've been kind of passionately finding out more about the European witch trials and the 300 years where women were persecuted and killed and exiled because of their mystical, intuitive ways, using magic or chants or ritual and connection to the land. And I think, it feels to me that as a culture, we just kind of brush this off. Haha, wasn't it funny back in medieval times when people were burnt at the stake and hung, drawn, and quartered? But actually, the horror of finding out about some of these women's stories, it's very real. And I feel like this has really left its mark on all of us actually, women, people of mixed gender, and men, I think we've all suffered as a result of those witch trials and what it kind of did to the feminine within us all. So I'm super fired up about us reconnecting, and there are so many women out there doing this work, and I feel it's really important, and it's where I want to put my time and energy. Okay. I mean, another thing to say is some of this might resonate with you and some of it might not. That's absolutely fine. You might have a different word for something, you might have a different way of understanding it. And please just, you do you. There's no one way of doing this. And it's most important to me that you find your own way with this. And I'm interested to hear about that. So let's just take a minute to land together, if you would. So you might like to lean back and get comfy. And if you were willing, you might like to close your eyes or lower your gaze. We're just going to do a little grounding practice just to allow ourselves to arrive. So just paying attention to where your body is in contact with the chair or the bed or wherever you're placed. And see if you can deepen your breath. Maybe the deepest breath you've taken all day. And see if you can allow anything that's not necessary, any of the blah, blah, blahs, the to-do lists, the mundane, to drop away. Just like the leaves are falling off the trees at the moment with a gust of wind. Knowing that you can collect these later. But for this, just over an hour together, they're not needed here. Nothing else to do. To allow yourself to listen deeply to the promptings of your soul. That's it. And just notice what's there and don't judge it if you can. Perhaps there's some tension or some discomfort. And just see if you can send it a little bit of warmth and acceptance. It's okay, it's there. And see if there's an intention for this time for yourself. What do you need from Grandmother Witch's cauldron? See if something comes. It's fine, if not, it may evolve. And you could experience this as a sensation or a feeling or a symbol or a figure. Whatever it is, just trust it. Your psyche knows. and let it infuse its goodness into you. And gently just swaying or moving your body to bring yourself back to where you are. And if you have a candle, you're going to light them together now. And if you don't worry, no problem. And those of you watching at home, if you want to join us with this prayer and this intention, then please do. So let's light our candles together. Gorgeous. Thank you. And looking into the flame, imagining sitting at this sacred fire together. A circle of women doing this work of reclamation. As women have sat together for thousands and thousands of years. And imagining your wise and well ancestors, those that were healed, standing all around you, and they're blessing you and your journey. They're thanking you for doing your work. Maybe one of them whispers something in your ear. And they're holding us now in this sacred work. Blessings on your ancestors, wise and well. Blessings on this sacred fire that lights our way as it always has. And joining up with all the other flames across the globe of women and people doing this sacred work of healing. And so it is. Thank you. So let's just pop those somewhere and we can blow them out at the end. Gorgeous. Thank you. So I don't know if anybody feels like sharing in the chat. If anything symbolic came up for you that you wanted to put into the witch's cauldron, then please do pop it in the chat. And if you're at home, you can write that down. And you can also email it to me. I'd love to hear what are the ingredients in your sacred medicine that you're popping in the collective pot. Lisa's saying, let me click on that. A song came into your head. Yeah, sometimes that happens, doesn't it? Lyrics of the song. I'm intrigued, but also you don't need to share. For me, I think in some ways on my journey, I've often felt quite alone because I felt quite different to a lot of my family. And when I do this kind of practice, I remember I can really feel into these sacred people that were connected and healed and grounded. Phoebe felt the grief of feeling disconnected and estranged from other women. Oh, I'm so with you. And that's something which I feel really passionate about as well. And I think for me, all those kind of feminine wounds, the witch wound, the sister wound, and the mother wound, they all have the same essence for me, which is women's disconnect from themselves and each other, and these kinds of competitiveness, or I'm going to use the word bitchiness. I know it's kind of overused for women, but I feel a lot of that stuff comes from our disconnect from each other and our disempowerment. And that's something that I feel I really want to spend some time on the course, because female relationships can be tricky sometimes, whether it's in work or family or friendship groups. And I mean, perhaps you haven't had that experience, but I have, and I have met lots of women that had. And I see that even in my daughter's generation. She's 16 now, and some of these things are still perpetuating. But I believe that there is an uprising and an awakening, and that more and more women are coming back to circles, whether it's online or in their physical area. I think more and more women who perhaps this is new to as well are coming to this work. So up the revolution. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're doing it already, aren't we? Just by being here. So, I mean, everybody's experience of menopause is different, right? It's a bit like being neurodiverse. Not everybody has the same symptoms. Some people seem to sort of sail through, or do they though? Or do they just not notice? Or do they just not talk about things? I don't know. I'll never know. But what I do know is that the women and people that I've met and encountered really don't feel like themselves. They feel really strong emotions, which to me feel very similar to if somebody's got PMDD, which is like pre-menstruum on steroids. Like when some people have like literally gone nuts and caused people harm because their pre-menstruum is so strong. Some people have very strong emotional responses. Mine was anxiety. I suddenly had anxiety. And it kind of came out of nowhere. For some people, it's grief. For some people, it's anger. And it feels like that pre-menstruum is very similar to menopause, obviously being a prolonged process. And what was fascinating for me is that my daughter was going through her puberty, her menarche, at the time that I was going through my menopause and my perimenopause. And the similarities were just bonkers, really. Wanting to be alone, feeling really emotional, feeling a bit all over the place, feeling low, feeling angry, feeling upset, and feeling tired and getting headaches or body aches. And not everybody has all of these, but I had all of them. And even now, I still get some hot flushes. But now I realize, I know what my triggers are. For me, it's fatigue and stress. So I starting to work with my symptoms as allies, because the psychotherapy that I'm trained in, we're working with any of this information we're getting through our bodies or our psyches as, it's here to serve us, it's here to give us information. So, what happens if we actually see these symptoms that can be really horrendous, let's face it, but that they're actually trying to tell us something? Because I believe this without actually health conditions, because a lot of people come to therapy with autoimmune diseases and things like that, and they're on high medications, and then they start doing their psyche work and they start to feel better, and they start to reduce their medications, and they start to have less symptoms. So we've got this kind of weird thing in our conventional medical system where they kind of separate body and soul, and emotions, and you can't do it. We are one organism, aren't we? Um so that's been my work, really, and it's been absolutely fascinating. And that, coupled with my training with Glennie Kindred, who you may have come across, she's written a ton of books on kind of Celtic processes and animism and the Celtic wheel festivals. And I just thought, there's got to be something, there's got to be something important here. And I now feel that my symptoms are here to tell me where I need to work and heal towards my evolution as a more solid being on the planet. And if ever we needed solid beings on the planet, it is now, isn't it? Because it's absolutely nuts out there, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about you, but I seriously just have to really be careful how much I engage and put myself out there listening to news and things like that, or people talking, because it's just gone off the scale. So if we're in menopause as well, and our gremlins or difficult, wounds are opening up, and we don't have as much capacity to kind of keep all our coping strategies, it's kind of double bad. It's like, really? Anything else? But the good news is it works if we really engage. And there are herbs and plants and practices and fungi and all kinds of things that we can work with to support this process, just as our ancestors would. And, through the witch trials, my belief is, and many others that I've been reading about or been in circle with, that we became distanced and fractured from those practices, which really were probably the legacy of our indigenous practices, because it was dangerous. It was out and out dangerous. It could get you killed. So of course people were going to stop using charms and rituals and talking to the spirits and making potions from things they could find in the hedgerow. But I mean, I'm just like tingling with excitement when I say this to you, because I just feel like this stuff is all coming back. And more people are coming back to the campfires, coming back to circles, in wanting to know about, the plants of our land. So it does feel like an awakening, and also a healing crisis. And healing crises are not fun, are they? On the whole, they can be really quite gnarly. So, for me, us working with our capacity wherever we can, which might mean facing up to some things that we've been, throwing ourselves under the bus, really. That we might need to make some shifts, and that can be painful, and that's initiation. You don't get like easy initiations, really, do you? If we look at the living indigenous traditions, they're quite fierce, some of these initiations, where young people are sent off into the forest to be alone and stand in front of a ton of kind of ants or something that they've got to it's quite serious stuff. So, what can we do? What can we do to just really ground ourselves through this process? So for me, what that looked like is finding a daily practice that worked. I cannot function if I do not do my daily practice. And everybody is going to be different. Some people might like this or that, but it's something that's meaningful, something that really connects you to your deeper inner world. You're probably doing things already, and it's kind of making time for that every day. I literally can't function if I don't do it. And I'm a mum, I've got a job, I've got a partner, we're trying to, sort our house out. It's a lot to juggle. So where I got to was, okay, I can do 10 minutes of this breathing exercise. I can move my body about when I clean my teeth. If I'm lucky, I can carve out half an hour to do a movement practice or be in nature. I journal every day. I connect to myself. And these are the things that hold me up. And to be fair, I wouldn't be able to do my job either, because there's quite a lot of traumatized folk about, particularly in the NHS. So, in a sense, I owe my menopause this, because it was non-negotiable. Like, if you want to survive this, you have to do it. So one of the things that I got into was working with Amanita Muscaria. Now, this is the fly agaric mushroom, and you may have noticed that more people are starting to mention, you may have known about this mushroom. Now, it is listed as toxic, and it is toxic if you don't know how to prepare it. You probably knew that already. And I can't go into a whole massive lot of detail of that now, but just to tell you that in terms of menopause, there are there's actually more than two ways of preparing it. But in terms of using a tincture or a tea, there are two main compounds that we're looking at. One is called ibotenic acid, and this can help with energy and creativity. And some people report that ADHD symptoms are supported by it. There's very little studies. I just completed a psychedelic practice training, and I asked one of the academics, why aren't there studies done on this mushroom? And he said it's because the mushroom's too complex, because basically the compound strengths vary so much in the mushrooms, they can't do a study, because with studies they have, like, everybody has to get the same, and you can't quantify the dose. So most people that are working with this mushroom are doing it shamanically, in a way that they're connecting to the spirit of Amanita to work with their dose. But just to go back to the two threads, so ibotenic acid's good for energy and concentration, which obviously can happen as challenges in menopause. There's a way of working with it as an infused oil, which can be really good for pain, so kind of nerve pain and things like that. And then you can make more of a muscimol conversion through heat, water, and some lemon juice. And again, that's a bit of a process I can't go into now, but I will be doing more on this. And in the course, I'll be talking about this, and we'll be working with Amanita, but also in early next year, I'm planning to do a 4-part course, which is just on Amanita Muscaria for anybody that's interested. But the muscimol is good for sleep. It's good for connecting to your deeper inner world, and it's calming for anxiety. So you can see there are an awful lot of menopause symptoms there. It is listed as a psychedelic, but it's not a hallucinogen, different people seem to get different experiences. I do see images, but then I'm quite a visual person. I think what it does is that it pulls you in deeper to your inner world. So whatever intuitive information you get, for some people it's hearing things, isn't it? For some people it's knowing things. For some people it's seeing things, and all the other clairs. um, it intensifies that. So that's one of the spirit beings that we would be working with on the course, or that I'll be working with in the future. And now that you're on my mailing list, you'll hear about all sorts of things. And also on social medias, I share my journey, so there'll be more information on that kind of thing. But there's also ladies' mantle that can help with flooding, which I had terribly. I didn't just bleed; I like bled. And felt like I couldn't leave the house. I haven't bled now for 4 years, but it was pretty difficult. So there's ladies' mantle you can take for that. It's also a hormone regulator. There's hops, that's good for hormones. There's red clover. There's what else is good? Red, like sage, is good for hot flushes. So there's plants in the hedgerow, plants in we can grow in the garden that can absolutely support us through this process. And then there's foods. So for me and for many people, not too much stimulant. I love coffee, I love sugar. That's a problem. I have to pull that right back. I can't really drink alcohol. It totally messes with my hormones now. I'll have a little bit, but it's just not, I can't do what I used to do. That's a bit difficult, but it's just not worth it. I just feel too rotten. Is anybody willing to share anything that they're experiencing, or at what stage of menopause you're at, in the chat? It's totally fine if not. No worries. So basically, I've worked with people at all stages, and I kind of feel really sad when people are on the other side of menopause and they haven't had this support. But I do feel that there's still some reclamation of eldership and our bodies and our womb's wisdom, or our womb space, that is a really important part of our work with this theme. Maybe you've longed to find some meaning in your life, or some feelings of wholeness, a kind of acceptance of yourself. Um, Maybe there's some family trauma or some trauma in your own life that is still bubbling. Maybe you've always been earth loving and you've loved connecting to plants, and have a sense of the magic and mystery in the world. Or you want to be a strong elder, but you're kind of afraid to shine your light too brightly in the world, because people get cut down, or your experience is that if you shine too brightly, you might be shot down emotionally. And it's very common, and it's particularly for women, I think, or people that were born female. In times gone by, women, when they were bleeding, were considered to be very close to spirit. And um, this is still the case in living traditions. But you can read about this in ancient Greece and the oracles, and yet it kind of became periods, and menstruation became something that was shameful, and menopause is part of that, isn't it? you know um, Something that we don't really talk about. I mean, I didn't have a map, so I had to go searching, and I couldn't really find much out there, which is another reason that I felt to work on this course. um, that is a bit different now. There are more voices out there. So Alexandra Pope um, has written a book, Wise Power, uh, and Hecate, no, not Hecate, Haggitude by Sharon Blackie. So there are elder voices out there now, and that's been such a lifeline for me. Because I didn't have any elders around me, and I didn't have anybody in my community I could kind of really ask about this. Um, but talking of Hecate, she has been a goddess that has felt really, really close to me through this time. You may know about her already. She's from the Greek lineage, but she's thought of to be as the witch's goddess and um, the goddess of the crossroads. And she, like Persephone, is able to cross over from the upper world to the lower world, but she can do that autonomously, whereas Persephone is kind of controlled by Hades. So, you know, my experience of Hecate, of kind of dreaming with her, praying and calling her in, is that she's pretty fierce, but I also feel very comfortable and safe in her ways, you know. And it's the same with Amanita Muscaria. You know, there's some challenge in there. It's a very warm and loving mushroom experience for lots of people, but there's also a trickster side, you know, and it feels that these symptoms through menopause are a little bit tricksy. They're kind of like, oh, well, you're not listening to me, so you're going to listen to this now, aren't you? But it's all for our development, I believe. So I'm going to invite you now, if we can do a little bit of inner work together. So you might want to get comfortable again. If you've got a notepad, have that handy, because there's going to be a little bit of time for you to scribe anything that comes out of this for you. Hopefully you're warm enough, you've got a cozy blanket. You know, there's no right or wrong with this stuff. Whatever you get is what you need to get. And sometimes that can be quite stuck, and that's okay. Just go with it. So again, resting in to whatever is present for you. And this image of the fire again. Huge fire in the center. However you experience that, whether you see it or feel it or hear it. And all of our ancestors, wise and well, holding the space for us. And the goddess Hecate watching over with her huge staff and her flowing cape as we do this sacred work. And as you smell this fire and hear its crackling, your ancestors part. And through the gap, you can see a beautiful tree. And you move towards the tree and touch its bark and notice how it feels under your hand as it's in contact with the bark. And your ancestors and maybe your guides, if you've met those yet, are cheering you on. They're so happy you're doing this work. And you notice that there's a way in to this tree through the trunk. Perhaps it's a hole or a door. But you know you're going to be okay as you go through it. And you find a light to guide you. And take that with you as you start descending down into the earth. You can hear your ancestors still cheering you on as you descend this light in your hand. As you go down, you notice that the walls are becoming rock. They're covered in crystals, catching the light. And you find yourself in a cavern, covered in crystals. It's crystalline walls, sparkling and dripping water into a sacred pool. And you watch as the water drops, drop by drop, and the ripples that ripple out from every drop, and the power of that. You know that this place is welcoming you. Perhaps has been waiting for you. And you hear something across the other side of the cavern. And you notice an old woman, and she's tending a fire. And on the fire is a huge cauldron. And she's stirring a brew. And it smells amazing. And she calls you over, she beckons you. And you feel perhaps a little afraid, but she seems friendly. And she asks you, what do you need? And see what arises in you as you come in contact with that question. What do you need? And you tell her. You tell her what you need at this point in your life. And she smiles and she has a twinkle in her eye. As if she knew the answer already. She takes a silver goblet, worn with age, held by hand after hand, and she pours a golden liquid from her ladle into the cup. And she offers it to you. And you can choose to take it or not, or perhaps you just want to smell it. Just see how you feel. But if you are not already and you feel to drink it, then do so now. And feel as the nourishing liquid spreads through your body. Warm. And if you have a question, you could ask her now. There's something you would like to ask her. As you continue sipping or holding this draft. It's nearly time to go, so thank her for a drink, medicine. And see if there's any last thing you want to ask her or that she wants to tell you. And finding a way to show your gratitude and say goodbye to her. You're going to start your journey back. Walking past the pool, perhaps you might like to take a little of the water and bless your forehead with the sacred water. As you wave one last time to Grandmother Witch. She's so glad you came. And you take your light and you start your ascent. Up, up, up. And the crystalline walls start to become wood again. The inside of the tree trunk, you can smell the wood. It's different from the cave. And finding the place where you found your light, you can pop it back wherever it was safely. And ready yourself to emerge back out into the clearing with the fire of your ancestors and your guides, if you know them yet, but they're there anyway. And they cheer as you come out. They're so excited for you. I encourage you to trust whatever medicine you've been gifted. And even if that's a freeze or a block, trust it. It'll keep working on you. Knowing that you can come back to this sacred ancestral fire anytime you wish. And Hecate still watching over, and she bangs her staff on the ground 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. And you find yourself back here, in your body here. Deepening your breath. As you allow yourself to come back to your home, to your chair, and the creaks of the house or the ticking of the clock, whatever you can smell. Wiggle your toes and your fingers and have a little stretch or a drink to fully come back. Gorgeous. Thank you. So just take a few minutes now, if you like, to just scribe any of those important points, whatever jumps out at you, things that your ancestors said, or things that you saw or heard or asked. And I'll give you a 1 minute call in a second. And 1 more minute if you need it. Okay, wrapping up. And if anybody feels they'd like to share anything, you could raise your hand if you want to speak, or you could pop something in the chat. But it's an invitation, and it's really fine if you'd rather not. Let's see if there's some wisdom you want to bring into the space. Oh, thanks, Jane, for sharing that you're 2 years post-menopause. Yeah. So that means 2 years since your last bleed. So yeah, 4 years for me. So I'm on that circle with you. Thanks for sharing. So Lisa, at the beginning, when I asked what you want this evening, you saw a magic potion bottle and it was a beautiful meditation. Brilliant. Yeah, magic potion bottle. Yes, we're all up for that. One of the joys of my life is making potions. Have you got a magical potion bottle? Maybe you need to get one. Thanks for sharing. You know, this will keep working in you as well. So pay attention to your dreams or anything that comes to you, because it will probably keep working. Jane, did you want to share? You can unmute and go for it if you're ready.
Yeah, I thought I'd speak it instead because my cave was all blue, so
Wow.
I felt like that was the throat chakra, so I thought I'd speak it. But the old woman was my nan,
Oh,
but very exaggerated, if you um and the question I asked her was, what did I need to heal for our maternal lineage?
mm,
Um,
I love
because
that.
I feel that's really important for me at the moment.
Yeah.
And she didn't answer me, but she said I would be shown in the next few days. So,
Wow.
yeah.
How exciting. I've got tingles. That's gorgeous. I love that that was your nan and that
Yeah.
your family journey. Thank you for sharing. And Lisa's just shared that her cave was blue as well. And in fact, you look blue at the moment. Your face, the light that you're with, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing, guys. Brilliant. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, um, perhaps you do this already, but just kind of, having your notebook next to your bed, because that little bit of REM time, just as you're coming out of your dreams into your waking life, can be full of really potent messages. And if you hang out there, if you don't have to get up to attend to animals or people or other responsibilities, can be some amazing information. So having a notebook next to your bed and a pen can just be so awesome, because I don't know about you, but if I don't write these things down as soon as I wake up, I mean, even pre-menopause, to be honest, they just kind of go, you know. Um, and the way that I was taught to work with dreams, which I really like, is if it's a dream rather than sort of snippets of information, um, to write it as if you're in it. So you write, I'm standing in a blah, blah, blah. So it could be, I'm standing in a cave. I notice the walls are. So as if you're in it, and then come back to it and really allow yourself to feel it. Because, sometimes our dreams are bonkers, aren't they? But if you just really connect to what you're feeling, then that's the kind of the language of the soul that's coming through. So if you have any epiphanies or anything kind of comes to you, for you guys that are here live or anybody that's watching this recording, I'd love to hear from you. Please don't be shy. Send me an email. I'd love to hear how this journey keeps working its magic for you and the collective, because I believe we're doing this work for each other. So thank you, and thank you for sharing. So I'm going to just quickly run you through my course for anybody that is wondering about carrying on, if that's okay. We've just got 14 minutes left, and I will leave a little bit of time at the end for anybody that's got any questions. And also, again, you're welcome to email me if you've got any questions. So it's a 6-part course that starts next Monday. It's got 4 consecutive Mondays, 2 till 3:15 UK time, and then there's 1 week off, and then there's 2 more. So the first week we're going to be working. It's called Hearing the Call. So we're going to be working on grounding practices, understanding more about our nervous systems, getting some tools in place. And obviously, it's going to be a bit of a taster that we would layer on each session. So I'll be offering different grounding tools, or kind of tools of inquiry, some of which you may have already, some of which you may have got into 30 years ago and then haven't done for ages. You know, it's very personal, and it's just about bringing in some ideas, which some of which may be new and some of which you may be doing already. So things like divination, working with healing herbs, working with nutrition, and rituals. The second session, we're going to be focusing on archetypes. So the second archetype is the sacred bowl, and we will do some inner journey work, but we're also going to be connecting to our wombs or our womb spaces. If you no longer have your womb, energetically, it's still the same. We're also going to be working with Amanita, and I'm going to be talking to you about how to make a womb oil with Amanita and other herbs, solar infused oil, which then you could do all kinds of solar infused oils, but this one specifically for your womb. Also, how to make a yoni steam if anybody wishes to do that. These are optional, but just really to connect to the base chakra. And as you may already know, that this is really about our life force, erotic charge, our grounding and belonging. And that in the Sanskrit practices, that the second chakra is very much about emotions. So I think it's really interesting that these two parts of particularly women's bodies, I think, can be quite blocked or cut off. And certainly with my own experiences, having been brought up Roman Catholic, I've had to do a lot of work, and it's ongoing for me. I couldn't even feel my womb until a year ago, which is a bit sad. So yeah, that's what we're going to also be working with red jasper. If you have stones, it'd be brilliant if you were on the course, if you could bring them, but equally it doesn't matter if you don't, because we'll be working with them energetically. I am not, it's not my specialism, but I've always loved working with stones, and I guess I put myself more in the animist category, which is working with plants and natural objects like stones as living beings, as beings that have wisdom for us. The third week, we're going to be working with the shield of protection. That will be the archetypal object. So this is, I mean, you probably know where we're going to go. It's going to be about boundaries. It's going to be about finding our no if we find that difficult. It's going to be about working with a connection between our body and our spirit in kind of rituals that are energetically supportive, cleansing. I'm going to be offering some rituals for you to try if you want in your own time. This may well be a place that you might like to try a breaking the bonds ritual, which is about energetically disconnecting from something or someone that is or has been harmful in your life or in your ancestral line. And those ancestral threads can be really, really powerful. And we will be bringing some of our own personal story in there, and some of it will be more collective, so there'll be space for both. We're going to be working with mugwort. We're going to learn how to make smoke bundles from UK herbs, and the stone we'll be working with will be citrine. So that's more about magnetizing in the things that you want into your life as well. Week 4 will be wielding the sword. So again, this is discernment. This is a heart and throat activation. And how the heart can support our truth, kind of ungagging of the witch. You may have seen some of the objects from medieval times, and there was literally a bridle that kind of gagged women, which was called the Scold's Bridle. And in the Malleus Maleficarum, which is the witch hunter's book on how to find, interrogate, and kill witches, they talk about women's sharp tongues, and that the witch's tongue is the most dangerous part of her body. And so they literally used to prevent women from speaking. I think it's also really interesting to note that a lot of the witches, the women who were accused of witchcraft and were killed, were often elder women. And something that happens with our hormone changes is that a lot of women just don't actually give a shit anymore about what other people think of them. Estrogen is quite a flexible hormone that kind of supports women to fit in. And I think we've evolved this way because we need to feel safe, because if we have children, then we're in quite a vulnerable place. But as women get older, actually, which you may know, our main hormone becomes testosterone, which is the leadership hormone. So a lot of elder women can be pretty feisty and very direct and take no shit. So I think it's quite interesting. I think it's quite telling that a lot of women were elders who were accused and experienced all kinds of horrors. We're going to be working with hawthorn tincture making and just tincture making it in general. And then, although the hawthorn berries won't be, they might not, I mean, they're still now. So if you are wanting to come or you're on the course already, then you could harvest some and dry them now, and we can make a tincture and also a hawthorn elixir, which is delicious and really supportive for the heart and circulation, both physically and metaphysically. So then we're going to have a little gap, and I'm going to make a video on how to make a foraged crown, because week 5, which will be the following week, we're going to be working with crowning Sacred Elderwoman, crowning ourselves and each other. For anybody that can't attend live, you could share as a video or a photo of you doing this ritual. And we're going to be working with flower essences, lunar infused flower essence, and the crown chakra, and connecting to the higher realms using quartz, clear quartz, your vision, sight, or however that information comes to you. Because for some people, it's more of a somatic or an auditory experience. We're also going to be working with rose and how this can be incredibly heart-centered, but also quite a protective plant to work with. And then on the final session on week 6, we're going to be returning home. So really harvesting across the whole process and doing the work of integration. Where have we been? What's been important? Where are we going? And we're going to do a whole system chakra inner journey. So there will be some inner journey work at every time. I have made a payment plan for all different incomes, and I've also 10% of that is going to go to GAZA, because it's something that I feel really passionate about at the moment. So that's the course. I don't know if anybody wants to ask me anything about it. And if you don't fancy asking me now, you're very welcome to get in touch. Just pop your hand up if you want to ask anything. And when I send out the recording, which will hopefully be tomorrow, I will also put a link to the course, so you'll be able to have a look at all the details there and see if there's anything else you need to know. Other than that, thank you so much for coming to be with me and gifting me with your time. I really hope that you have that you found something within yourself that is a surprise or an affirmation. And does anybody want to share anything before we close? Perhaps we could just add, maybe if we were brave enough, we could all just give 1 or 2 words of what we're taking away with us. So if you were up for unmuting, and it's really fine if not, but if you were up for unmuting, I wonder whether we can just connect into where we feel we are now and one or two words to weave together for our final closing. And then we'll blow out our candles together. I think mine are calm and excited.
Connected.
Connected. Thank you.
Jane, I was going to say connected.
That's all right, ditto.
But I also thought about clarity and courage.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Clarity, courage, connected, calm, and excited. That's a good potion. Thank you. And thank you, Phoebe, for being here too. So let's take our candles and close the circle. And if you're here with us at home, thank you for being here. You've been held within our circle as well. And blessing all those seen and unseen, wise and well ancestors and guides, the medicine you carry in your bones, the light that's bright within your center, the reason you're here. Blessing you on your journey. And sending out loving kindness to the world. And as we blow our candles out together, just imagining that with the smoke is carried all the medicine that we have stirred up together today and tonight, or whenever you're watching this. May all beings be safe. May there be peace. May you be blessed. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. And let's blow the candles out together. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of love.
Thank you.
Look after yourselves and see you hopefully down the road. Don't be shy to get in touch. All right.
Thank you.
Blessing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Bye, Phoebe.
Bye.